Neden tekrar aynı türden partnerleri seçiyoruz? Bugün çekicilik hakkında tüm gerçekleri öğreneceğiz. Lori Gottlieb, neden ihtiyacımız olan kişilere değil de başka kişilere çekildiğimizi açıklıyor. Lori hakkında birkaç söz. Lori, çiftlere danışmanlık yapıyor, kitaplar yazıyor, televizyonda programlar yapıyor. Kitabı temel alınarak bugün diziler çekiliyor. Korkmadan söyleyebilirim ki Amerika'nın en büyük psikoterapistlerinden biri ve bugün bizimle birlikte. Lori, hello, and we are all glad to see you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the these wisdom nuggets from your book, and I want to start with one of my personal favorites, and that's about the nature of attraction. So in your book, actually, people mostly know you because of the maybe you should talk to someone. However, there is an earlier book about finding the right person, finding the right partner, and that was my personal favorite. So, and I know like we can, with people here, we can fight and argue about that. But anyways, so the way you look at attraction is that, and you say that we are attracted to what is familiar versus what we really need. And can you explain that?
There's this saying, we marry our unfinished business. It's meant that if we don't process the ways that we were hurt, neglected, and I don't mean, it doesn't even have to be, in a way that we would consider, let's say, abuse, right? I'm talking about if you had a parent who was not emotionally available, if you had a parent who was unpredictable, if you had a parent who was very controlling and overbearing, if you had a parent who, whose love felt conditional, if you had a parent who maybe had a temper, yelled a lot, if you had a parent who drank too much, we tend to have this radar for those people when we grow up and we start to look for a romantic partner. And sometimes we see this in friends too. But we tend to think, I'm going to find the opposite. I'm going to find someone who's emotionally available, who is going to value me, who's going to treat me in the way that I deserve to be treated. But what happens is, if you have not processed the history, if you have not processed the earlier primary relationships in your life, then your unconscious says, oh, you look familiar, come closer. So on the surface, this person looks completely different from the person who hurt you when you were younger. But unconsciously, that person, you're drawn to that person for a reason, you're attracted to. It's that chemistry, right? We say, oh, I have really deep chemistry with this person. Then you start to get to know them and you think, oh no, wait a minute, this person yells. This person is emotionally withholding, whatever the thing was that you were trying to avoid, because it's what Freud called repetition compulsion, where we try to master the thing that we had no control of when we were younger. And it's paradoxically, when you let go of trying to master that with another person, but you process it yourself, usually in therapy, then you don't have that need to prove something to another person, that you're worthy, that you're deserving of love, that you can be treated this way. And then you go after people who don't look like those earlier figures.
Bu çekicilik tesadüf değil, eski bir hikayenin tekrarıdır. Dönüşümsel Masterclass'ta bu döngüden nasıl çıkabileceğini ve olgun, sağlıklı ilişkiler kurabilmeyi öğreneceksin. Can you explain the mechanism? You mentioned that once you go through this grievance, right? And I would like to use another quote of yours here, which is, you need to let go of the hope of a better childhood. That's another quote from your book. So, but once you let go and you grieve about it, something maybe in your like neural pathways or like something changes and you stop being as much attracted to familiarity, right? To what was familiar before. Can you better explain the mechanism so we understand how these two are connected, like grievance and stop being attracted to something that is not good for you?
Yeah. So part of the quote that I think is important is that in order to have a better adulthood, we have to let go of the hope for a better childhood. And I think that part about having a better adulthood is important, because that's, if you're stuck in the thing that you did not get, you can't move forward. And I think that's what the grieving does. Is the grieving, it's not, like when we talk about, let's talk about grief when someone you love dies. You don't move, people say, oh, you don't move on, you move forward. And there's a big difference. So people don't move on. If they love this person, that's going to be with them forever. It's, you move forward with the loss. And so the grieving in this case too is you move forward with the loss. The loss doesn't disappear, but it frees you up when you stop trying to get somebody out in the world to give you something that you didn't get in the past. When you accept, I will never get that. I will never get that kind of parenting. You can't get that from a partner. You get something different. You get something lovely, beautiful from a partner, but you don't get a parent. And I think that when you stop trying to get a parent from a partner, you have to be able to grieve the parenting you didn't get so that you're not trying to make your partner into a parent.
Lori, it has been an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you for your generosity on so many levels. We love you. Thank you for coming. It was absolutely fantastic conversation.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored that you invited me to have this conversation, and I'm sure that as I said at the end, I think that we all learn from each other, and I love having these conversations with coaches, therapists, as we all do this work.